going on, everybody, and welcome to the Thursday edition of the Stochastic NHL Strategy Show. I'm your host, Josh Harris. 9-gamer here tonight. No MLB tonight. 6-game NBA slate. These are the GPPs. DK, but I'm not surprised. It is what it is at this point of the season. But we're here. One GPP with 10K to first. That's the 444. It has a 75-man field. Everything else 5K or less to first. But that is still a lot of money considering what the alternative is. I'd rather try to win 5K than have some family time like DK is trying to have us do. But MLB season in full swing, except for today. My internet wanted to refresh there, but helping me to break down this 9-game slate, Slim Cliffy, what's going on?
Oh, not a whole lot. Just another Thursday. 2 weeks left in the regular season from today. I think the NHL officially announced today. It was always suspected, but the NHL officially announced today the playoffs start April 19th, which is the Saturday after the season. It is Easter Saturday, so little over 2 weeks until playoffs start. Obviously, lots of playoff implications. Last night, your Rangers pulled off the 5-4 win in overtime. Big 2 points for them. Colorado was down 2-0 to Chicago with like 10 minutes left in the game or something like that. Scored 2 goals, including one in the final 10 seconds. Won that in a shootout. The Maple Leafs beat the Panthers at home. Barkov didn't play. That's interesting because whoever wins the Atlantic Division is going to get Ottawa in the first round. Now, Ottawa is a good team, but the second and third place in the Atlantic Division are going to play each other. So if Toronto wins the division and they're in first right now, the Panthers and the Lightning play each other in the first round. That is like between those three teams, whoever doesn't win the division plays each other. That is a brutal draw considering Carolina is going to play New Jersey. New Jersey's missing all that top talent. So even for the teams that are out of the playoff that don't, they don't need wins to get into the playoffs, teams like Toronto, Florida, Tampa Bay, Dallas, Winnipeg, there is still quite a bit to play for because, Dallas playing Colorado in the first round is not quite the same as playing maybe Minnesota or something like that. Just like, Toronto playing Ottawa in the first round is not the same thing as playing Florida or Tampa Bay. So still a lot to play for. Obviously, a lot to play for here tonight. Montreal is at home to Boston. Montreal now tied with the Rangers for the final playoff spot. St. Louis is at home to Pittsburgh. St. Louis basically has a playoff spot wrapped up by now. I believe they're 8 points ahead of Vancouver. I think 7 points ahead of Calgary. Calgary has a game in hand, so like maybe Calgary can go on a run or something like that. But like St. Louis wins today. We'll get to that game later. And if Calgary loses, yeah, okay. And if Calgary loses, like it's pretty much a wrap on the West. So a lot of playoff implications for today. 9 games to go through. Not a whole lot in the way of injury news. We know what most of the lineups are going to look like as well. We don't know if one of the games is actually going to play. Still waiting for news on that. But I kind of like this little 9-gamer here.
Actually, if Tampa wins here tonight in regulation, like Ottawa could slide because Montreal would only be 5 points behind with a game in hand. Actually, if they win here tonight and Ottawa loses, they'll be 3 points behind Ottawa with the same amount of games. So Ottawa is not guaranteed.
I think the problem there
they have a very easy schedule, but
yeah, the problem there is Ottawa has the tiebreakers. So even if they're 3 points, even if Montreal's 3 points back, it's kind of like they're 4 points back because Ottawa does have the tiebreakers on them. It's only 7 games left after tonight. So even if all goes well, they can catch them. I think it would take a lot. It would take kind of a miracle over the stretch, but anything can happen. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, maybe the Devils. Why my internet sucks so bad today? One cloud red. Anyway, MLB season in full swing here. If you do want to join, that deal ends today. So you get today's slate. You didn't sign up for that promo code slate deal. If you do click the
Yeah, kind of figured Josh would drop out there eventually. So I guess I'll pick it up until Josh actually gets back. But, as Josh mentioned, MLB is in full swing. If you do want to join, just click on that link that Nightbot put out, or click on the link that Stochastic just put out. So, just sorry, I'm getting caught a little flustered here. So just click through those links if you want to join for MLB. NHL playoffs just a couple weeks away. Obviously, lots of sports going on right now. I'll just jump here into the first game. Boston 2.4 total. They're going into Montreal. The Habs have a 3.2 total. Montreal brought it over Oliver Kapanen. Remember, if anybody remembers, he started the season with the team, got sent back to the Swedish league. He's now back with them. It doesn't appear as if he's going to play tonight. So the Habs are effectively going to be running back the same lineup. Boston looks like they're going to be doing the same from their last game. Morgan Geekie, Pavel Zacha, David Pastrnak, and the rest don't matter. I see Josh is back here. How we doing, Josh? All right, I'll just keep going through the game. Montreal going back, obviously, at the top line with Slafkovsky, Suzuki, and Caulfield. Heineman, Newhook, Line is technically the second line. I think you'd want to call it Christian Dvorak, Brendan Gallagher, Josh Anderson line, the second line at this point, just due to ice time. There he goes. That Montreal line is 18,300. 14% top two stack, 12.1% ownership. There's a fair amount of ownership, but here's the thing: is they've been really, 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 really good. And we talked about it on a number of shows over the last few weeks. Going back to the Four Nations, they've been elite offensively. I was looking how they were doing with Lane Hudson. Since Christmas, the Montreal Canadiens top line with Hudson on the ice, 81 shot attempts, 3.9 expected goals, 5.3 actual goals per 60. They have just been absolutely tearing apart the opposition offensively. The Boston top line has actually been solid defensively of late. It's just the depth that's been taking a beating. So I certainly do understand playing Montreal here. Like, Boston is legitimately a bad team. They have injuries with Lindholm and McAvoy out. Obviously, they traded a bunch of guys at the deadline. It wasn't a good team to begin with. I get playing Montreal here. 12.1% feels like a lot. This might be a situation, given how Montreal has been able to draw some power plays, 2.9 power play opportunities per game since March 1st. With how well they've been able to draw power play opportunities, I would be kind of interested in just doing a straight power play stack. So the top line plus Line A plus Hudson, something like that. I don't think I would just stack the top line and leave it be. I think there's a little bit too much ownership here. It is a 3.2 total, though. And the Montreal top line has been great with Hudson on the ice, and Hudson has been playing more and more with them at 5-on-5. So I'm perfectly fine with a Montreal power play stack here. If you need a depth stack, the Dvorak, Gallagher, Anderson line, I think, is okay. But that's about it. On the Boston side, it's Boston win or bust, right? That Boston top line of Zacha, Geekie, and Pastrnak, They were good for most of the year. They haven't been that good offensively of late. 110 minutes since the trade deadline, 2.2 expected goals, 2.6 actual goals per 60. Zacha no longer on the top power play unit. They're coming in with less ownership than Montreal at around the same price, 7.5%. So I guess it's a decent pivot. But I think this is another case where I'd be more inclined to two-man Pastrnak and Geeky, one-off David Pastrnak. Pastrnak has the highest DK fantasy points projection of any winger here tonight, so he's obviously still a good one-off. I don't think I'm full stacking Boston one. It's a one-man or it's a two-man. I think if I'm full stacking anything, it's probably a power play stack from the Montreal side.
Yeah, sorry. My StreamYard decided it was done with me. It's still not great, but it's better than it was. I didn't hear anything you said on Montreal's side, but for me, I do some sort of Montreal power play stack here. If you want to leave off Slavkovsky, add in Line A or something like that on, with Suzuki. I think the two guys you'd want to build around are Suzuki and Line A, and then build a power play stack around that. You could just straight up go Montreal 1. But again, like if they're going to draw a fair amount of power plays, you're going to want Line A in that mix. On the Boston side, like it's a Pastrnak one-off or a two-man with Geeky, and I don't really give a crap about anything else other than maybe Mason Lower on the blue line, but we'll get to them when we get to them. Tampa Bay Lightning with a 3.1 total heading into Ottawa. The Senators have a 2.8. Tampa going Kucherov, Gensel, Point, Hagel, Paul, Cirelli, Bjorkstrand, Gord, Goncalves. Brady Tkachuk is out for the Senators, so they're going Batherson, Cousins, Perron, Stützle, Giroux, Zetterlund, Pinto, Grieg, Amadio. Now, there is not a bunch of ownership here on Ottawa for good reason. I mean, this is a tough matchup. Like, we were clowning on Tampa for a while for them being pretty bad defensively. If you look by expected goals against metrics, they're one of the best teams in the NHL in the past 6 weeks since the Four Nations break. This isn't the best matchup for Ottawa. They're missing their best player. It is Vasilevsky in net. If anything, I'd go to Batherson, Cousins, Perron. But they're, 15-1, and for $100 more, I could just go play Hagel, Paul, Cirelli. So for me, I'm not super high on Ottawa here. It would be more on the Tampa side. And Tampa 1 is really, really expensive, $23,500, 20.7% top two stack, 1.6% projected ownership. Like, that's just too expensive. Ottawa is still generally a pretty good defensive team. I don't think Hamonic is going to be in tonight, which certainly helps them. I don't have a ton of interest in Tampa 1. If you want to do a Kucherov one-off, that's always in play for me. My interest is on Tampa 2, Hagel, Cirelli, Paul. They're only 15,200. They like Cirelli and Hagel play almost the same amount of minutes as Kucherov and Point. You get a massive steep discount there. Obviously, you don't get the top power play time, but Ottawa's penalty kill has generally been fine. Hagel does get some top power play time. The power play with Hagel is so much better. So I think I'd do a two-man of Cirelli, Hagel, or just full stack that Tampa second line. And that's really the only line I've any interest in full stacking in single entry. I'm fine with some of Ottawa too. Fine with the Kucherov one-off, but the only line I'd consider in single entry is Tampa 2.
I'm kind of out on the sense here with no Brady Tkachuk. Like you said, I guess if you want to go play that Cousins line, I think that would be the one line I would go to. Like Pinto, Grieg, and Amadio haven't really been that great offensively. Stützle, Giroux, and Zetterlund, 2.5 expected goals for Stützle and Zetterlund when they've been on the ice. Like, it's okay. It's about league average. It's really not anything great. Couple power play notes I'll mention here is that in Ottawa's last game, Ridley Grieg did start on the power play. I think he got the first 3 power plays. They went 0 for 3. And then on the fourth one, they put Claude Giroux up there. So Stützle and Giroux may be on the same power play here tonight. But again, it's a power play without Brady Tkachuk. So, I mean, Cousins, Perron, Batherson, I guess would be the stack I'd go to. But I really just do not have interest in Ottawa here. on the Tampa side, like 23,500, like I'm just not going to play them at that price. It's we said it on the last show that a lot of Ottawa's defensive issues had been coming because they were playing Travis Hamonic. Like it honestly just boiled down to that. They were still really good defensively at 5-on-5 as long as Hamonic wasn't on the ice. And if he's not playing tonight, like Ottawa is a pretty good defensive team. Ottawa's not taken as many penalties lately as they had been, 2.5 times shorthanded per game since March 1st. So, Tampa doesn't get a ton of power plays. And the other thing is now that they have a playable third line, the top guys don't have to play 22 minutes a game. Like, they'll still get good ice time. But, Point and Gensel are going to have games in that 18 to 20 minute range. And this definitely could be one of them. That's another reason why Tampa's improved defensively is because Bjorkstrand's been really good for this team. I know he hasn't produced a lot, but you can do more to help the team than just put up points. And he's helped give them an actually viable third line. So I don't know. I think I'm just kind of out. Like, if anything for me, it'd be one-offs. Like Kucherov always makes a good one-off. Hagel, like, he's fine as a one-off. I'd also mention that they did the same thing to Hagel that Ottawa did to Grieg, which is in their last game. I think their first 2 or 3 power plays, Tampa had Hagel on there. They didn't score, and then for the last one, they went back to Bjorkstrand. Remember, Bjorkstrand had stretched like 6 or 7 games in a row where he was on the top PP unit. So Bjorkstrand may actually even be on the top power play here. So Hagel went off, Bjorkstrand went off, Kucherov went off, those types of things. I think that's about my interest, the extent of my interest in this game.
Yep. Colorado Avalanche, 3.4 total heading into Columbus. The Blue Jackets have a 3 total. Couple notes here. We don't know if this game's going to happen. Colorado got stuck in Chicago last night because of bad storms. They were supposed to fly out this morning, but I haven't heard anything. I haven't seen anything. I would assume it plays. Like, at this point, if they haven't flown out yet, like, someone would have said something. So I'll operate like they're playing. The other note is Drouin got hurt in the game yesterday, so I have no idea what the lines are going to be. No idea if he's playing tonight. So that's another wrinkle.
I would assume Drouin is out. Like, he got hurt, didn't come back for the second or third period. And it's a back-to-back against a bubble playoff team. Like, Colorado doesn't need to push it right now.
Yeah, so I wonder if they go back to McKinnon, Netchus, Lehkonen, which would obviously give me interest. That would be 20,000.
They put Nichushkin on the top line. I believe it was Nichushkin, Lehkonen, McKinnon, Natchez, Nelson, and then they just cycled through wingers.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible they go 11-7 tonight. With Nichushkin up there, that line would be 20,900. Again, like, if I'm going to play the Avs, it's some sort of power play stack around McKinnon and Nichushkin. Or it's McKinnon and who's ever on the top line with him. If you want to build the most expensive, that's Valeri Nichushkin. I would imagine this means either Lehkonen or Nelson go to the top power play unit. If it's Lehkonen, that would fully correlate. It was Nelson. There you go. Cliffy on the ball. So for me, I would just build around McKinnon and Nichushkin and go from there. I don't know how the travel affects them. It's hard to know. On the Columbus side, the Columbus top line went absolutely nuclear the other night. Marchenko had a hat trick in a 4-point game. Monahan had 4 points. Vronkov didn't do anything. And then Fantilli had 3 points. Jenner had 3 points. Kent Johnson had 4. Like, they just went absolutely nuts. This isn't the best matchup. It is back-to-back on the road for Colorado. They had travel issues, so maybe they have some tired legs. They didn't get their routine today. I don't know. I don't have a problem going back to Marchenko, Monahan, Vronkov at 15-7 at that price. If they're like 18-2, maybe I take a pass. But, like, listen, we've talked about it so much. Doesn't matter when or where the sample you look at with Monahan in the lineup. Their power play is better. That line just keeps on rolling. At 15-7, I think they're in play in any format here tonight at 6% projected. You want to go to that second line, that's fine. But for me, I prefer the both top lines.
Yeah, I just saw one of the Avalanche blogs say that the team got in at noon Eastern, so like 2 hours ago. So looks like this game's going to be just fine. On the Colorado side, like I know it is a weird game for them. Like obviously they get in town like 7 hours before puck drop or whatever. I think we said this pretty recently. I think, remember, they lost to Toronto and then had a back-to-back in Ottawa. And I said, if there's one team that I really don't care if they're on a back-to-back or what the situation is, it's the Colorado Avalanche. And then they beat the shit out of Ottawa. That's kind of what I'm getting at here tonight. Like I honestly don't care if they got stuck. If they got stuck in Chicago and showed up 30 minutes before game time. This is literally the one team in the NHL that I do not care anything about their pregame habits. They are as well oiled a machine as it comes. So that Colorado top line, assuming it is McKinnon, Nichushkin, and Lehkonen, which is what they went to last night, that's 20,900. It's another reason why I wouldn't really have interest in Tampa Bay. Like I know Tampa Bay's fully correlated, but that Colorado top line would be $2,600 cheaper against Columbus as opposed to 23,500 in Ottawa. Like there is a difference there. So I do have interest in Colorado. One, I'm going to be honest, it's not a great matchup going up against Monahan. That Monahan line has generally been good defensively this season. The goaltending's kind of fallen apart lately though, which is why I still have interest in Colorado 1 here. Like at 20,900, I think that's a pretty good price, even if they're not correlated. With Nichushkin and Lehkonen on the top line, still only 95 minutes. It's not a huge sample, but 80 shot attempts, 3.6 expected goals. Like this line is still just absolutely nitrous. Even Nichushkin with his top power play time and everything's playing like 21 minutes a game, 20 to 21 minutes a game. Lehkonen's still going to be in the high teens, pushing 20, and obviously McKinnon's going to get his. Like I really do have interest in Colorado 1 here. Colorado 2, not as much. It's one of those things though, like I do hate leaving Necas off a stack just because of how good the power play has been and how Columbus penalty kill really isn't. And obviously Necas is very involved. So if you want to take out Lehkonen, make it a little bit more expensive, make it 22,400 and put in Necas, I think you can do that. I think Necas makes a fine one-off at 6,200. It's just I'm not sold on Brock Nelson yet. He hasn't really done a lot in Colorado. I think Nelson, he has 14 shots on goal in his last 10 games. That's like it's honest, it's Casey Middlestat stuff. So I'm not completely sold on Nelson yet. I do hate leaving Necas off a stack, but it's definitely Colorado 1 for me. On the Columbus side, honestly, I don't mind going right back to Columbus 1. Listen, like that line still is great. Whether you look, we've said it since Monahan returned. Whether you look since he returned from injury, it's only been 4 games. Whether you look, post Thanksgiving, whether you look at the entire season, that line has just been elite offensively. 3.5 expected goals, 70 shot attempts per 60 since he got back. There's not a terrible amount of ownership coming in on them. They're only at 6% ownership, 15,700. If you want to take out Voronkov and put in Jenner Johnson, I think you can do that because the Colorado penalty kill has been on a little bit of a slide lately. I was just looking back since March 1st, 8.1 goals against per 60 on the PK. It's not awful or anything, but it is below average. So, with Monahan back, obviously the Columbus power play is better. It's another one of the reasons why I don't want to play any of the Ottawa lines is like you can go play Columbus 1 for 15,700 and they're far, far better than any line that Ottawa has. So for me, it's honestly Columbus 1 that I have interest in this game, but I do definitely think that Colorado one is the expensive pivot away from Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and obviously we'll talk about Edmonton at the end, but I think because of Edmonton and back-to-back on the road for Colorado, you're going to get Colorado at an ownership discount in an otherwise really, really good matchup, especially because Edmonton's in San Jose, and San Jose just confirmed Georgi Romanov because Alexander Georgiev is hurt. So that's going to be a mess, but, this is an interesting game.
As things stand right now, the only forward from Colorado with an ownership projection over 5% is Nathan McKinnon at 8%. Like these guys aren't going to carry ownership here tonight.
That's the stuff of nightmares. But anyway, I like nightmares sometimes. Pittsburgh Penguins, they 2.3 total heading into St. Louis. The Blues have a 3.3 total. St. Louis going Kyrou, Holloway, Shen, Thomas Buchnevich, Neighbors. And then, the third line is Bolduc, Sundqvist, and Snuggerud. Pittsburgh going Crosby, Rust, McGrodery, Raquel, Dewar, Koivunen.
I'll just say Evgeny Malkin is on the trip with the team. I don't think he's going to play tonight. He wasn't set. I don't think he was in a regular line at practice yesterday, even though he did practice with them and he's with the team. Just watch for that in case you do play the Penguins. I don't think he plays tonight, but something to watch for.
So I see almost 5% projected ownership on Raquel, Dewar, and Koivunen. They're 11,600, and you get two of the three guys on the top power play unit. Like if you're doing super expensive power play stacking, I guess like a Koivunen, Raquel two-man is fine. But really, I don't have a ton of interest in Pittsburgh. This is a brutal 5-on-5 matchup. It's a good power play matchup, but the Pittsburgh power play is pretty bad. So how good of a matchup really is it? So generally, I'm out on Pittsburgh here. On the St. Louis side, that top line, the Thomas line is now 18,000 and the Kyrou line is 18,100. And they moved Jake Neighbors back to the Kyrou, Holloway, Shen unit. So for me, it would be the fully correlated line of Kyrou, Holloway, Shen at 18-1. They'll see a fair bit of that Crosby matchup. Not that it matters. Like, it just gets worse after you get past Crosby. Like, Raquel played a game at center against the Rangers and looked fine because the Rangers suck. But, like, the Blues are an actual good team, as strange as that is to say. So, for me, it's the Kyrou, Holloway, Shen line. Their line's fully correlated with the Neighbors on their unit. If you want to go to Thomas Buchnevich Neighbors, because they've historically been fine, I have no issues with it. They're just $100 cheaper, and they're not fully correlated, so I'd rather just get the fully correlated line.
Yeah, I agree on getting the fully correlated line of Kyrou, Shen, and Holloway. The main reason being Pittsburgh's penalty kill is bad. Like, not that St. Louis's power play has been outstanding, really, basically at any point this season, but this is one of those situations where they can take advantage of a bad penalty kill. Kyrou, Holloway, Shen, their last 10 games, 4.2 goals per 60 minutes, shooting 13.8%, which is a little bit high. But, even at like 10%, this line is still well above average offensively. Holloway's been getting a lot of ice time. He's up like around 20 minutes a game lately. You can make an argument that this team thinks he's their number 2 forward now behind Robert Thomas. I think that's a testament to just how well he's played basically all season. Like, he's earned that spot. So 18,100 is expensive, but this isn't 18,100 for the line of 2 months ago where they were playing 15 to 17 minutes. This is 18,100 where Shen and Holloway are probably going to play 19 to 20 minutes. Kyrou will be around 17 to 18, something like that. So you're still getting good ice time. They've been really good at 5-on-5. It's a great 5-on-5 matchup. It's a great power play matchup. They are expensive at 18,100, but I think it's one of those situations where if you're not paying up for these super expensive lines tonight, you don't want to pay 21,000 for Colorado. You don't want to pay over 23K for Tampa Bay. You're looking somewhere in that 18 to 19K range. I think this line is, Montreal 1 would probably still be at the top of my list. I think this line is just behind it. So that's it for me. I don't really have interest in the Pittsburgh side. Like this St. Louis is legitimately one of the best defensive teams in the NHL, and they have been for months now. So I'm just out.
Nashville Predators with a 2.3 total. Heading into Dallas, the Stars have a 3.6. We don't really know the Nashville lines. They didn't run any. In our top stacks, we have Forsberg, Stamkos, Bellows, O'Reilly, Bunting, Evangelista. On Dallas, we have Robertson, Ranton, and Hintz, Duchesne, Granlund, Marchment, Johnston, Ben, Bork. Like, really, anyway, like, I don't have interest in stacking anything on Nashville. One-offs are fine, like a one-off Forsberg, a one-off Evangelista. He's 3,900 on the top power play unit. Not that their power play has been anything to ride home about since Yossi got hurt, but he is 3,900. It's really about it on the Nashville side. On the Dallas side, like, I want to get behind Dallas here, but there's issues. Like, the top line's $21,000. Outside of this is Mikko Rantanen's 8th game in Dallas. Outside of the first game where he played 21 minutes, that was a shootout game. He hasn't gone above 1830. They're 21,000. Robertson hasn't gone above 18. Hintz, will play 19, but at 21,000, I need 20, 21, 22 minutes where I know Colorado's going to play those minutes. Nick Suzuki is going to play those minutes. Leon Draisaitl is going to play those minutes. So, like, yeah, they've been fine in a 73-minute sample for 4 goals per 60, but like for 17 minutes here, I'm not paying 21,000. So I'll go to the second line of Duchesne, Granlund, Marchment. They're fully correlated on the second unit. They're coming in with 7% projected ownership, but at that price, you have Columbus 1 right there. You have some other lines right there. Like, they're fine. This is a really good matchup. It's just like the Columbus guys are going to play a lot more minutes. This Dallas line is really bad defensively. Not that it is a huge matter here, but like, if anything, it would be Dallas 2. Like, Dallas 3, they just have not been great this season, whether it's Bork or Dodonov there. They really just need someone to solidify that line. Fine with the John,
like Logan Stankoven.
Yeah, they needed Logan Stankoven, but he's off in Carolina. So it would be Dallas 2 for me, a Johnston one-off and some one-offs on Nashville side. But like, despite the really high total on the Dallas side, it's just hard to play them.
Yeah, I'll start on the Nashville side. I wish we kind of knew lines. Not that I really have a ton of interest in Nashville in a single entry. Like, even if we knew the lines, I wouldn't be playing them here tonight. In a single entry, if I was like 20 maxing or something, like, this Dallas team has, like, we keep saying it over and over, like, since Miro Heiskanen got hurt, has just been not that good defensively. Heiskanen got hurt at the end of January. Since that point, Dallas is giving up the most shots per game of any team in the league, like literally, or per 60 minutes of any team in the league, like more than Columbus, more than Anaheim, more than, Chicago, whomever. The most shots. What has saved them is really, really, really good goaltending. Relying on your goaltenders to give you a .920 save percentage game in and game out is a pretty dangerous way to live. So that's part of it. The other part of it is, if they do like an O'Reilly, Evangelista, Forsberg top line, could be perfectly correlated on the power play at 16K. So I wish we knew the lines, because even if I'm not playing 20 max, but if I was, like, it would be one of the lines I would have maybe 1 out of 20 or something, but we just don't know what they're going to be. So unless, something changes, like one off Evangelista, one off Forsberg, like you said, other than that, I don't know what you can stack because we just don't know what the lines are. On the Dallas side, I agree with you on Dallas one. Like, I'm just not playing a line at 21K where they're going to top out at 18 minutes. Like, over the last 5 games, the only Dallas forward to average over 18 minutes a game is Michael Granlund. Like, Robertson's at 17:58, Rantanen's at 17:23, Hintz is at 17:19. So they're all playing 17 to 18 minutes, but that's it. And that is, you need incredibly efficient offense to pay off 21K in 17 minutes of ice time. So I'm out. I'd way rather go play Colorado. So for me, it's Dallas 2. I don't mind Dallas 2. I'm going to be honest. One, like, they get 35% of the ice time on the power play, which is not nothing. Like, that's kind of decent. The other is they've started doing the thing that Washington used to do with John Carlson before Chychrun got there, which is play both halves of the power play. So now that second power play unit doesn't have to worry about trying to generate goals with Matt Dumba on the ice. They're using Thomas Harley, and the second power play unit with Harley, up until the Heiskanen injury, was the better power play unit. So I do think there is a world where Dallas's second power play is better than their first power play unit. And they've been really, really good at 5-on-5. I was looking just since the trade deadline, 3.5 goals per 60 minutes. They don't get a ton of ice time. Nobody on this team does. Michael Granlund might get the most. You know what I mean? So at 50,400 against a very bad Nashville team, I don't mind Dallas 2 here, because you look in that 14 to 16K price range. Like, yes, you have a pair of Columbus lines. Columbus is also in a considerably worse matchup. Now, they are a better line than Dallas 2, but it's also a much, much worse matchup, even if Colorado's back-to-back on the road. Then you're looking at like some Anaheim lines, maybe Los Angeles, those types of things. I honestly don't mind Dallas 2 compared to what else is in that price range, other than maybe Columbus 1. So that's it for me on Dallas. Like I said, on Nashville, maybe Evangelista or Forsberg 1 off, but that's about it.
It's pretty funny because I genuinely think Pete DeBoer is a pretty good actual head coach. I think it's funny that they lost Heiskanen and they need defense, and the 2 players who play the most minutes are Mikael Granlund and Cody Ceci.
Well, Thomas Harley's getting 25 minutes.
Yeah, Harley, but
no, that's the problem with the defense. I think I mentioned on Twitter or something a few days ago, is they lost. Like, Nils Lundqvist has been their best bottom pair defender all season. Like, low key, he was only playing 16, 17 minutes a game, but they were crushing his minutes. And then Heiskanen, obviously elite on the top pair. So they lost an elite top pair guy and their best bottom pair guy and replaced them with Matt Dumba and Cody Ceci. Now, Dumba had been there all along, but he was a healthy scratch, around Christmas or after Christmas. Like, this guy sucks. Cody Ceci is worse. Well, maybe not even. But you replace Miro Heiskanen and Nils Lundqvist with Cody Ceci and Matt Dumba, you're going to have problems.
Yeah, and Granlund is honestly one of the worst defensive forwards in the league. So I just chuckle at that. But anyway, Los Angeles Kings with a 2.8 total heading into Utah. What are they now? Are they what are they? Are they the hockey team? What did they change their name to?
No, they haven't officially announced anything yet. But I remember reading an article. They applied for a bunch of trademarks, and one of them wasn't the hockey club or whatever. So I don't think they're sticking with that.
What? Utah going Genther, Keller, Cooley, Schmaltz, Hayton, Yamamoto, Doan, Krause, McBain. Excuse me. Kings going Fiala, Byfield, LaFerriere, Kempe, Kuzmenko, Kopitar, Fogle, Moore, Deneau. I know Utah is at 3.1, but I don't have a ton of interest here. This is a brutal matchup. Like, if anything, in your MME, if you get some Utah 1, fine. But I'm generally out on Utah here in single entry. The Kings, this is a tough matchup for them too. Utah is good 5-on-5. They have a bad penalty kill, but the Kings power play honestly is in the realm of the Flyers and the Penguins. So it's just they would have to get there at 5-on-5, and it's a brutal matchup. So really, this game is MME at best for me. I don't think you'll see any skater in my single entry lineup. Maybe you'll see a blue liner or something, but I don't have a ton of interest in this game.
Yeah, this is just a really, really bad matchup at home for Utah. That top line with Kuzmenko there is at 2.1 expected goals against per 60 at 5-on-5, 1.2 actual goals against per 60. The second line, the Byfield line, over their last 20 games, 2.1 expected goals against, 1.2 actual goals against per 60. The Foegele-Danault Moore line is at 1.4 goals against per 60. Like, this is, if anything, maybe Utah can get there on the power play. The Kings have been taking more penalties. The Kings are at 3.1 times shorthanded three times shorthanded per game, since March 1st. It's the 8th highest rate in the league. You know, the penalty kill has struggled at times this year. Utah power play, as long as Cooley and Genther have been healthy, has been pretty good. So maybe they can get there at on the power play. Like, they get, go 2 for 4 on the power play. They get an empty net or something. All of a sudden, they could be an optimal. I think I would still rather go play St. Louis in that price range. And if I didn't care about ownership, I'd rather go play Montreal. So I just don't even like St. Louis. That St. Louis line is projected for under 6% ownership. So if I wanted less ownership, I go play St. Louis. If I didn't care about ownership, I go play Montreal. So like Utah to me feels like an MME only. On the Kings side, like, they do have a bunch of playable lines. None of them are exceptional. It's not a bad power play matchup. Utah's penalty kill has been better, but they've also been taking more penalties. Like, that was a problem for them in the first half of the season. They got better after Christmas, but now they're getting back into their old habits. 3.1 times shorthanded per game since March 1st, 6th most in the league. The Kings' top power play has been good. It's kind of riding a hot shooting percentage. I think if the Kings do get there, it's probably because the power play does damage. So Kempe, Kuzmenko, Kopitar would be my interest. 16,200, 2% top 2 stack, ownership projection under 1%. Again, I think they're MME only for me, though, because you look in that price range, you got those 2 Columbus lines. We just went over Dallas too. I just think there are other spots I'd rather play. So I think I'd have a lot of interest in this game if I had 150 lineups in single entry that like amount.
Yeah, there's also a couple lines in the next game which I prefer than the Kings top line. So let's talk about it. Anaheim Ducks with a 2.7 total heading into Calgary. The Flames have a 3.2. Calgary going Huberdeau, Coronado, Frost, Kadri, Farabee, Pospisil, Coleman, Sharangovich, Backlund. Anaheim going Vetrano, Terry Strome, McTavish, Zegras, Colangelo, Gauthier, Carlson, Killorn. I'll start on the Duck side. Like, I have no issue with Vetrano, Terry Strome at 15-1. Like, that price is fine. 1.5% projected ownership. We've seen them high 17s, low 18s at time. It's just not the best matchup, going up against Backlund, Coleman. Excuse me. So, and they aren't on my preferred power play unit, and this is a pretty good power play spot for the Ducks. I much prefer the Jackson Lacombe unit, and for that reason, I would go to McTavish, Zegras, Colangelo at 16,200. They're coming in with almost no ownership. Just, 16,200. We just went over a bunch of lines in that range. One on Calgary, which I think I prefer, but like these guys, like McTavish and Zegras, have played really well together this season. It does feel a little bit chasey because they're coming off a wild performance. McTavish had 11 shots on goal and 3 assists. Zegras had a goal and assist and 4 shots. Colangelo had a goal and assist. But they're fully correlated on the Jackson Lacombe unit, and the Calgary penalty kill isn't great. So while I don't know if I'll get there in single entry, because I honestly prefer the Calgary Frost line for $300 less in this game, I think, no one's playing them. If I was 20 maxing, they would certainly be in my mix. They're a line that I want to kind of ride the wave with. So, and on top of that, like you talked about it on the last show, it's a small sample, but with Colangelo on that power play unit, they have been better. So I'm in on McTavish, Zegras, Colangelo. On the Flame side, it would be Huberdeau, Coronado, Frost, 15,900, 6.2% projected. Top two, 9.3% projected ownership. They're fully correlated. This is an excellent power play spot. They have been excellent at 5-on-5 this season. There are no matchup concerns. The only thing that would concern me is not having Kadri in that stack, because he is also on that unit. He is 7,300, which is a bit expensive. I'm fine with Calgary too. I just worry not having Kadri. And, they score multiple power play goals and Kadri gets both of them. You know what I mean? But really, it would be Calgary too and that Ducks McTavish line.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. I think it's a game where both teams probably have 3 playable lines. I think less so on Calgary. I don't think the Sharon Govich Pospisil Kadri line is gonna gonna stay very long or together for very long, or B is not gonna get a lot of ice time, because Sharon Govich and Pospisil typically get like 14-15 minutes. Like Kadri's gonna get a lot. Kadri's probably gonna be over 20. And in fact, you mentioned how it would suck to leave off Kadri on a stack. He has 22 shots on goal in his last 5 games. Like, this is a guy that can have a pretty good DFS night, not even score a goal. So yeah, I would hate to leave him off. What I will mention is that Coleman, Backlund, and Farabee have been kind of fine offensively. Backlund and Farabee have over 90 minutes together. 66 shot attempts, 2.9 expected goals for per 60 minutes. And going up against the Troy Terry line, it's not like they're great defensively or anything like that. Like, they're below average, maybe even bad. So, Coleman, Backlund, Farabee is like, I think they're 13K. So they're kind of like fillery type status. But I agree with you. Generally speaking, it would be Huberdeau, Coronado, Frost, 15,900, 6.2% top 2 stack, 9.3% ownership, perfectly correlated on the power play. They all, Frost and Coronado skating like 18 and 19 minutes, Huberdeau well over 20, probably over 21. They're under 16K. So they're in that mid price range where there's a bunch of lines that you might want to pair them with, like Columbus, like Dallas, like those types of things. So where if you want to pay up for a Zach Werenski, if you want to pay up for a Cale Makar, this would be one of the lines that you would consider to put in your mid price range. And, you mentioned the Calgary penalty kill. It's like, what about the Anaheim penalty kill? Anaheim's at 3.3 times shorthanded per game since March 1st. It's the 3rd most in the league. If you go back over the last third of the season, they're at 3.1 times shorthanded per game. It's the 2nd most in the league. Goals against per minute on the penalty kill since March 1st is the 5th highest in the league. Again, over the last third of the season, they're in the bottom 10. So, like, Calgary's going up against a pretty bad penalty kill. I would want a perfectly correlated line. I think I might be tempted to take out Frost and put in Kadri, honestly. I don't like breaking up a perfectly correlated line, but I do think Kadri just has way more upside than Frost does. So that's probably how I'd approach it. And I honestly don't mind Calgary here tonight. It's not a bad matchup for them. So Huberdeau, Coronado, Kadri would probably be the stack I would go with. On the Anaheim side, I agree with you on the McTavish line. Like, Vetrano, Strome, and Terry aren't really getting a lot of ice time. That's a big problem. Like, they're getting 15, 16 minutes. Troy Terry might be around 17 to 18. It's just not a lot of ice time. Like, they're kind of running like 3 even-ish lines at this point. And, Zegras and McTavish, 3.2 expected goals, 3.3 actual goals per 60 minutes together. McTavish and Zegras are playing like 18 to 19 minutes. Like, they might lead the team in ice time, those two plus Leo Carlsson, who's on a different line. So McTavish, Zegras, Colangelo, 16,200. I don't mind them. They are one of those mid-price lines I would consider. But again, they're in that price range with Calgary that we just mentioned, with both Columbus lines, with Dallas. If you want to pay up a little bit more, like the St. Louis line, I think is like 13 or 2,000. Sorry, I was going to say 1,300. I don't know why I was going to say 1,300. It's like $2,000 more expensive, but the St. Louis top line's only 1,000. So, like, I do think there are other options. For me, I honestly like the Calgary side better, but I do understand wanting to play Anaheim, especially if you're in an MME.
Yeah, I like the Calgary side better too. And the problem I have with that Ducks line isn't McTavish and Zegras. It's Colangelo at 5,200 because he doesn't play a ton of minutes. If he was like 3,400, something like that, and that line was like 14-ish, it'd be much more viable. I guess you could take out Colangelo, put in Carlson, save $100.
Yeah, like Colangelo's last 4 games, 15 minutes, 11.5, 17.5, 13.5. Like 17 is probably the absolute most you can ask from him, and he might play 13 to 14. That's a lot. It's a high salary for 13 to 14 minutes.
Yeah, so if you want to spend that money, I would take out Colangelo, add in Uncle Leo for his 20 minutes or whatever he gets, and they're still all on the same unit. But yeah, that's probably what Frostback is going to do. Generally, that's what he does. Winnipeg Jets with a 2.6 total. Heading into Vegas, the Golden Knights have a 2.9. Looks like Eric Comrie in net for Winnipeg. Jets going Connor Scheifele, Iafallo. Hey, Alex Iafallo. Ehlers, Lowry, Appleton, Perfidi, Nemestikov, Niederreiter. They are just put Perfidi up there, homie.
Yeah, Winnipeg had a different morning skate. They went back to the old Ehlers, Nemesnikov, Perfidi, Lowry, Appleton, Niederreiter. They did leave Iafallo on the top line.
Still Iafallo. Yeah, idiots. Put Perfidi on there for the love of God. Anyway, Vegas going Eichel, Stone, Barbashev, Dorofeyev, Roy, Saad, Carlson, Smith, Olofsson. Like, I'm not playing a line with Alex Iafallo on it against Vegas at 7%. Like, they're 16-4. I'll just go play that Ducks line. I'll go play Calgary. I'll go play. The list just goes on and on. I don't want to list all of them, but that second line, I guess, with Ehlers and Perfidi in between Nemestikov, I guess they're fine. Like, even when Velarde was healthy and that line was together, they were creating the more dangerous chances. The problem is their minutes. You know what I mean? So, like, they're fine. I just have no faith that they're going to play more than 13, 14 minutes, and that's the concern. You do get Ehlers on the top power play unit, but Vegas just doesn't take penalties. So, really, I don't have a ton of interest in Winnipeg. I don't have a ton of interest in Vegas either. I know it's not a Hellebuck, but Comrie is a good backup. And I have no interest in Nick Roy, Dorofeyev, Saad. Like, Nick Roy does nothing for me there. I'd rather it be William Karlsson, but we don't like having nice things here. The Karlsson, Riley Smith, Olofsson line, I guess, is fine at 11-8. You could throw them in the basket of filler lines that you can fit with more expensive stuff. Like, I guess it would be that top line because you get 2 of the 3 on the top power play unit. You know, they have a good history together. They're starting to generate more now again with Barbashev. When Barbashev came back, they were generating a bunch, but they couldn't finish. So that's why they moved Barbashev off. Now he's back. So hopefully they can pick it up. But again, like, this game is a 5.5. They're more expensive than the lines I really want to play. So it's more of an MME type deal for me.
Yeah, I think the big note on Iafallo on the top line is, like, I think the bigger impact, even though he's a bit of a drag at 5-on-5, it's on the power play, right? Like, Velarde was a difference maker on the power play. If you look over the last 2 years, the Winnipeg power play with Velarde on the top unit generates it's like 35% more expected goals, and the goal rate goes up like 80% with Velarde as opposed to with Iafallo. And Vegas has a legitimately bad penalty kill. It's the one weakness they have. Now, they don't take a lot of penalties, but the old Winnipeg power play could probably carve them and go 1-for-1 on the power play here tonight. With Iafallo, I'm not so sure about that. So, like, I'm kind of out on Winnipeg. My only interest would be, like, you know, Ehlers at 5,600, I think is fine as a one-off. Perfidi at 4,200, I think is fine as a one-off. Like, those types of things. Niederreiter at 3,500. But full stacking, I'm out. For me, the only line I have interest in is Vegas. Vegas won specifically 17,400 for Eichel, Storm, Barbashev. 105 minutes together since the Four Nations break. 3 expected goals, 4.2 actual goals per 60. Now, Winnipeg is still Winnipeg doesn't have Gabriel Velarde, but for them, that impact is offensive. It's not defensive. Defensively, this is still going to be one of the best teams in the league. Comrie is a solid backup. I'm not running out to play Vegas one. I think if I was 20 maxing, I might have one of them. 150, maybe I have like 2 or 3, something like that. But you're right, like a 17,400. Like I'll just pay up a little bit and go play St. Louis instead, or I'll save a little bit of money and go play like Columbus or Dallas or something like that. So I think for me, I have more interest in the defensemen than the forwards here in this game, and for me, it's like MME only.
Yep. Edmonton Oilers with a 3.9 total heading into San Jose. The Sharks have a 2.6. Edmonton going Draisaitl, Arvidsson, Podkolzin, Hyman, Nugent Hopkins, Kapanen, Skinner, Brown, Janmark. Sharks going Toffoli, Celebrini, Smith, Eklund, Wenberg, Graf. I'll start on the Sharks side. Like, they're coming in over-owned at 17-1, 10.4% projected. We've talked about it every time they've been on the slate since the trade deadline. Not a single skater has over 2.5 expected goals since they traded Wallman. They aren't creating shit. The one thing I would say is the Edmonton goaltenders sometimes they can't stop the puck, which is their one job, but I'm not playing an over-leveraged Sharks line over 17K here tonight. I'm just not doing it. So I'm out on the Sharks. The Edmonton side is where things get a bit spicy, as they like to say. Draisaitl, Arvidsson, both on the top power play unit with Podkolzin. He's not on the top unit. The second line has Nugent Hopkins and Hyman, both on the top unit. Obviously, with the dynamic pricing, Hyman and Nugent Hopkins are more expensive. Draisaitl's 9K, Arvidsson 5,400, Nugent Hopkins 6K, Hyman 7,100.
I don't think Arvidsson's on the top power play, is he? Pretty sure it's Jeff Skinner.
Oh, did they switch that?
Yeah, Skinner was there in the last game.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's my bad. I was not fully prepared with that. You know what assuming does? Makes an ass out of you and me, but mostly me. So for me, I think I would go to that second line and leave off Kapanen and add in Draisaitl. Like, there's no world where I'm playing Edmonton here tonight without Draisaitl. And I know that's going to push the line to 22-1. But this is the Sharks we're talking about here. It's still $1,400 cheaper than Tampa. It's a little bit more expensive than a Colorado power play stack with Netchis. The Sharks legitimately are awful 5-on-5, legitimately had one of the worst penalty kills in the league, and take a lot of penalties. So for me, I'm doing some sort of power play stack, and the first guy I'm putting in is Draisaitl. I don't love stacking across 3 even strength lines. So for me, I'd go Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Hyman.
Yeah, out on the Sharks top line. Celebrini and Toffoli at 335 minutes together this season without Jake Wallman on the ice. 2.4 expected goals, 1.6 actual goals per 60. Even if they're living up to their expected goals mark, they'd be at or slightly below league average. Playing at best a league average line that is over leveraged is just not how I play DFS. So I'm out on San Jose 1. Wenberg and Eklund is a little bit different. They've actually been able to find some success together regardless of the defenseman on the ice. 2.7 expected goals, 2.2 actual goals. Wenberg and Eklund both play on the top power play unit. That line is not fully correlated, but they are relatively cheap, 12,400. So if you are playing like a Colorado or you're playing, Dallas or something like that, and Dallas top line, and you do need like a somewhat cheap filler, I do think San Jose 2 is at least in consideration. But that's it for me. For me, my interest is the Edmonton side. Here's the thing with Edmonton, though. trust me, I get it. This is a great matchup. Like this is how bad San Jose is that Edmonton is in town without Connor McDavid or Matthias Ekholm, and they still have a 3.9 total. Like, oh my God. Here's the thing though, is projected ownership has Leon Draisaitl at 22.5%, and then Nathan McKinnon at 8%. And it's like, both teams are on the road. Both teams are facing bad defensive teams. Sharks are worse. I'm not disputing that. But like, do I want to play Draisaitl at 3 times the ownership of Nathan McKinnon? Like, not really. So it's not to say I don't like Edmonton here. I think Edmonton's in a great spot, and I agree with you. I probably do like a 2-man of like Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, Draisaitl, Hyman, something like that. I think Draisaitl makes a fine one-off, like a perfectly fine one-off here. 9K. He leads projections, by the way. 19.9 DK points, 2.2 DK points per $1,000, which is like, you never see that with Draisaitl, especially at his price. That tells you about the season that he's having and the matchup that he's in. I do think he makes a fine one-off. If I'm going to stack, though, I'd probably just go play Colorado instead. So it's not that I don't like Edmonton. I just think I like the Avs, considering the ownership, a little bit better here. Like, on any night, if you're going to give me comparable matchups for McKinnon and Draisaitl and tell me Draisaitl is going to be 3 times higher owned, I'll just go play McKinnon. That's just kind of the way that I look at it. So no issue with Edmonton here. They're in a great spot. They have a lot of ownership because they're in a great spot. I just think I'd rather go play Colorado here. So that's kind of where I'm at in this game. It's like, honestly, as far as a 3-man stack goes, I think my favorite stack might be San Jose too. So we got to end this season.
Whew. Just a quick note on what you said about the ownership, though. I remember a show last year. We talked about it for like 5-10 minutes. When there was a slate where there was Colorado 1, Edmonton 1, which was McDavid, Draisaitl, Hyman, and Toronto 1, which was Matthews, Marner, and whomever. And they were all in comparable matchups. I just remember it was just like, we both decided, it's like, if you're going to give me all 3 of those lines in comparable matchups, I'm just going to go play the lowest owned.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that's the way I kind of look at it. And like, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I think Columbus is a better team than San Jose, like outright. But like, how much better are they like defensively? You know what I mean? Like, here, I'll just like, just since the 4 Nations breaks, since February 22nd, it's been about a month and a half now. San Jose is at 3.75 goals against per game. Columbus is at 3.5. So the difference is 0.25 goals against, and McKinnon is 1/3 the ownership. Like, you know what I mean? So that's just kind of how I see it.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. Of course, I'll figure out how to get both of them in and play like, Barclay Goodrow. I'm going to play Barclay Goodrow to get them to fit, but it's gonna. I'll see what I can do. Let's talk about defensemen here at the top of the board. There's 3 guys over 7K. It's Bouchard, Werenski, Makar. Makar in a shootout game yesterday played 31 minutes, but they're not allowed to have processed food or sugar. He'll be fine. I really like Werenski here as well. Bouchard, like, if there is a spot to Bouchard over 7K, this is the spot to Bouchard. So really, I'm fine with all 3 of them. I'd probably go in order: Makar 1, Werenski 2, Bouchard 3. I do like Mackenzie Weegar here tonight. I also really like Thomas Harley. It's really about it in the guys above 6K. Like, I guess Hedman and Sanderson and Matheson are fine, but I'd rather just dip down to the mid-range if I'm going to do that, or spend up for those guys above them.
Yeah, if you look at both total projection and fantasy points per dollar, here tonight, the number 1 guy in the expensive price range is Cale Makar, 15.2 DK points, 1.95 DK points per $1,000. Makes a lot. Like, this is a great matchup against Columbus. He is the number 1 on the stochastic board for the expensive guys. He's the number 1 on my board as well. You want to go to Werenski or something, or you want to go to Bouchard instead, I think that's okay. Thomas Harley at 6,500 really stands out to me. Like, it is a really, really good matchup at home against Nashville. Like 24 minutes, 23 and a half minutes, 24 and a half minutes, 21, 25. Those are his last 5 games. This guy's playing like 24 minutes a game. So I think Harley, amongst the expensive guys, is just fine as well. Jake Wallman, 5,300.
Revenge narrative.
And I honestly, I just saw an article saying he was surprised to get traded from San Jose. Maybe he's mad. Who knows? But yeah, Jake Wallman, I think, is just fine. Jackson Lacombe, the guy's playing 24 to 25 minutes, puts up peripherals, and he produces. Like, the fact that he's only 5,200, I don't get why his price kind of really isn't going up. Like, Jake Sanderson's $1,200 more expensive, which I don't really understand. Anyways, Jackson Lacombe for sure. Lane Hudson. Lane Hudson has 13 points in his last 10 games. He
leads the NHL in assists for defensemen.
Yeah, 4,900 at home against a bad Boston team. Esa Lindell for Dallas, obviously in a good matchup. Devin Taves in a good matchup as well. Philip Broberg is a little bit expensive for me from St. Louis, but it is in a great matchup at home against Pittsburgh, so I don't mind Broberg, and he also is getting 21 to 22 minutes a game, even without top power play time. For cheaper guys, Brett Kulak and Dylan Sandberg, both grayed out pretty well per Stochastic. Nick Blankenberg, regardless of the Nashville power play, Blankenberg's getting 21, 22 minutes a game. Alex Carrier is projecting well for Montreal. Matt Grzelcyk. I don't really like Pittsburgh here tonight, but Grzelcyk is 3,500 against St. Louis, and we know how much the Blues penalty kill has struggled, even under Montgomery. Kevin Ball, 3K for Columbus. Under 3K, there's really not a lot. Ian Cole projecting well. Colin Miller getting decent ice time for Winnipeg. As long as Nick Jensen plays for Ottawa, you never really know with him. He's fine for under 3K also.
I've had this in my head for like a week now since I bought some Lane Hudson cards. So now I got to share with the class, and I apologize. This is how my brain works. If Alex Ovechkin and Eamon Targaryen had a baby, they get Lane Hudson. Anyway, let's go to goalies. At the top of the board, Calvin Pickard. I don't know, man. Like, I don't particularly love the top of the board. Honestly, like, I think Montembeau is fine at 8,300. But if I was going to spend up, I think it would be for Joel Hofer at 8K. If Kemper starts, I don't mind him at 7,900. Aiden Hill, 7,800. Vasilevsky at 7,600 definitely interests me. I like Vejmelka at 7,500. And then if I'm spending down, I don't think I would. I honestly don't think I would go below Vejmelka at 7,900. If I had to do it, it would be the Duck starter. But like at that point, like I'm finding the $200 to go play Vejmelka.
Yeah, I think, if you just want to go right up to Ottinger, he is the top projected goalie on the board at 8,400. I think that's just fine. I think the expensive guy for me is Joel Hofer. St. Louis has just been really, really good defensively. I think shot volume is kind of a concern. I'm not really super worried about Pittsburgh filling the net, though. So I think Hofer at 8K. I don't mind Montembeau at 8,300. The problem there is shot volume. Boston hasn't put up more than 25 shots in a game since the trade deadline. That was 4 weeks ago. That was 4 weeks ago. Okay. So it's like if they scored like 2 goals on 19 shots or something, like it'd be a okay DFS performance. But I think Joel Hofer for the expensive guys. Andre Vasilevsky at 7,600, I think makes a ton of sense going up against Ottawa without Brady Tkachuk. Whoever gets the start in net for Anaheim is also interesting to me, just because we know how Calgary can struggle to score, generate lots of shots, but not lots of goals. Also, shout out Carl Vejmelka. It's not like the Kings do put up goals from time to time. I'm not I know that they have had some big games. I'm not overly concerned about the Kings putting up like 5 goals on 22 shots or something like that. So Carl Vejmelka, 7,500 as long as he gets to start. So honestly, other than Hofer at 8K, I think living in that mid 7K price range is probably where I'm going to be between like Vasilevsky, Dostal, Vejmelka, like those types of things.
Yeah. We will be back on Saturday. I highly doubt there'll be anything worth playing tomorrow. There's only 3 games anyway or something like that. So we'll see you on Saturday. Who you liking for your hat trick pick?
He's in a great matchup. We like the line. He's having a great season. I'm going with Dylan Holloway.
Yeah, he's having a great season. I am going. That threw me off for some reason, but I'm going little boy goals. I'm going Cole Caulfield.
It would be nice. I don't think he's gone on kind of a little bit of a dry spell. Like just beating the piss out of the Bruins at home to give them a good chance at the playoffs would be nice to see.
Yeah, I would much prefer. Like, I know I'm a Rangers fan and people are going to hate me for it, but like, I'd much rather see Montreal make the playoffs. One, because they're so much more fun, and the Rangers are just. It's like watching paint dry, watching them play hockey. Watching Montreal plays, they're actually engaged when they play.
And I'm going to be honest, the Rangers missing the playoffs might be the best thing for the team because it'll force them to look at Laviolette, at the GM. Like they're going to have to make changes. They can't just run it back again like they did this year.
Yeah, unless the Devils collapse, which would be funny. But anyway, we'll see you guys on Saturday. Good luck, everybody. See you in the Discord.
Good luck tonight, everyone.